Hey guys! Welcome back to a keyboard-related video. Today, we'll be looking at the MW65 Lite prototype. This keyboard is the follow-up to the well-known budget gasket mount acrylic keyboard, the MW65. So what's changed? That we'll get into a bit, but first, let's unbox this keyboard. This keyboard was sent over for an honest review through the help of Katsu, Wei, and Keybox, but my opinions are my own. They're seeing this video at the same time as you do. With that out of the way, let's get started. Inside the box, we first see the top layer of the board. This is then followed by a plastic bag which contains nuts and bolts as well as the acrylic layers that we'll be using to assemble the keyboard feet. This is the same design as the MW65. Next to that is the polycarbonate plate which has a lot of flex cuts. More on that later. The plate foam is up next along with another part of the keyboard feet. The bottom piece and shell of the keyboard is also present along with the PCB foam, case foam, and IXPE foam we're gonna be using later for the build. Other than that, we can finally open up the PCB, which is 3 to 5 pin hot swap, south facing, has BIA, and underglow as well. And look at those flex cuts. This will surely be a bouncy build. So what's different? The most obvious one is that the case is now made up of only 2 layers of polycarbonate, which is sandblasted to have a frosty look. My proto here is made out of acrylic, but it should resemble the look of the group by unit pretty well. Gone are the multiple transparent layers we once saw on the MW65. What's gone too is the multiple hot swap nature of the MW65 PCB. Now opting for a fixed layout, though step caps lock is supported, as well as split spacebars, as well as your choice of a knob or a switch on the rightmost top. Add to that your choice of perky RGB or flex cuts. My proto here has no perky RGB, but what it lacks in lights makes up with the flex and bounce it will certainly have later. As of now, the MW65 Lite is on group buy, I believe in China, and I'll update the description if it ever goes in stock internationally. With that out of the way, let's proceed on building this custom keyboard. Building the keyboard is quite tedious, but I'll try my best to explain it thoroughly as much as possible. First, we need to assemble the keyboard feet or stand for it to have an incline. We just need to find and align these 4 acrylic pieces together on each opposing side. You should have 8 pieces of acrylic cuts, 4 on each side with the right order. Each 4 layers is then secured to each other with a standoff, but before screwing it up, make sure you add the 5 nuts on the 2nd and 3rd layer of the acrylic seen here. You could easily identify where to put the nuts by the neatly cut holes for it. Next up, we need to secure the top shell of the feet with the nuts we have inserted earlier, seen here. After securing that, we can finally mount the back piece of the whole keyboard. Do keep in mind the orientation of the back piece. You could easily identify it by the teeth on the edges. Once it's lined up, you could screw it in gently on the 4 corners, doing the cross pattern, one on the top and on the bottom of each opposing side. Lastly, we screw the feet on the case properly using the nuts we placed earlier, seen here. We're finally done with the feet. Now on with the case proper. For this, I first added a stand-up on the top shell of the case, not screwing it tight to avoid cracks. There are a total of 8 stand-ups to mount. This is to ensure a secure fit. After ensuring the stand-ups are securely fitted in the case, I then proceeded on adding the gaskets to the top and bottom of the case. I inserted the gaskets on the case for me to be able to change out the plate without constantly removing or adding gaskets to the plate. You can see where I put the gaskets in the video. Next up is just a matter of clipping and lubing the snap-in stabilizers and mounting them on the PCB itself. I also tested the stabs for any rattle, as these are not plate mounts and can't be easily removed once the switches and plates are in. For this build, I went with step caps, pull spacebar, as well as knobless. We'll also be using the PCB foam, IXPE foam, as well as the case foam on the board, but in future builds, I'll be trying out other configurations. Finally, it's time to pick keycaps and switches. For switches, I chose the Acco Jelly Blacks as I wanted to be a clacky build. And for keycaps, I'll be using PBT 2048 from Keybox as well as a Geek Arc spacebar. And here it is.
Yeah. Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad. Though not as clacky as I expected, I really like the sound and feel of this keyboard. With the help of the flex cuts on the PCB and plate, as well as the ample space inside the board, it was able to flex and bounce evenly on all sides. Here's a demo. I was truly amazed on how soft and joyful of a typing experience this keyboard has offered. Even without a daughter board, the case has provided enough space for the Type-C port to move. Moving on, the underglow is bright and can be changed using via. The frosted look of the two-piece acrylic case really shows the lights pretty well. I'll be publishing more sound tests as well as a full modding and review of this keyboard in the future. But for now, what are your thoughts on the board? Do you have any switches to hear from this board? Comment them down below. Leave a like and subscribe to see more keyboard videos like this one. But that's been it. I'm John J. Villanueva, and I'll see you in the next video.